A young black man is humiliated, called filthy black, and banned from entering a luxury clothing store by racist security guards who insult him and kick him out, but then this happens. Samuel was born and raised in a humble neighborhood, surrounded by pothole-ridden streets and an environment marked by crime. The landscape around his home was desolate, with unfinished buildings and graffiti covering the poorly maintained walls. It was a tough place, but Samuel, even as a child, always noticed that despite everything, his family stayed united. Samuel's father worked in construction, waking up before dawn to catch the first bus that took him to the job site. The days were long and grueling, and he returned home exhausted, with calloused hands from the concrete, but with a smile that lit up his face when he saw his children. He was a man of few words, but Samuel could feel his father's silent pride in seeing him grow up responsibly. Samuel's mother was also tireless. She worked at a local market, where she spent hours organizing shelves and serving customers. Her face showed the fatigue of long shifts, but she never failed to take care of the house. She cooked with love, preparing meals with what little they had, and made sure that there was always food on the table, even on the tightest days. Samuel often saw her dozing on the sofa, her eyes half closed as she tried to sneak in a moment of rest, but she would soon get up, ready to tackle another task. The effort of his parents was remarkable, and it motivated Samuel from an early age. He knew that the only way to repay the sacrifices they made for him and his siblings was by dedicating himself to his studies. From a young age, Samuel showed an immense thirst for knowledge. He loved going to school, not just to learn but also to escape, even if just for a few hours, from the harsh reality of the neighborhood he lived in. He often spent his afternoons studying in a corner of their small home. He knew that his only chance to change his family's life was through education. The desire to lift his parents out of that modest and dangerous environment was what drove him. Over time, Samuel's efforts paid off. His dedication caught the attention of his teachers, who saw a special spark in him. When he finally earned a scholarship to attend a respected business college, it was a day of great celebration for his family. His parents were in disbelief, proud to see their son, whom they had raised with so much sacrifice, take such an important step. Samuel graduated with honors years later, carrying a deep gratitude for all he had learned and the opportunities he had gained. However, life didn't hand him everything on a silver platter. Even after graduating, his first job was as a waiter at a local restaurant, something far from what he had dreamed of while in college. But Samuel didn't get discouraged. He understood that any job was an opportunity to learn and grow. The restaurant, despite its modesty, became a new battleground for him. With a keen eye and a mind geared towards management, Samuel quickly stood out. Even while serving tables, he made sure to observe how the business operated. He mentally noted every detail, the flow of customers, the menu, the management of finances, and, most importantly, customer service. He noticed where the mistakes were and where there was room for improvement. Over time, the restaurant owner recognized Samuel's commitment. It wasn't long before he was promoted to manager. Now in a leadership position, Samuel dove even deeper into the challenge of making the restaurant grow. Under his management, the restaurant thrived, gaining recognition and attracting new customers, which significantly boosted profits. Samuel knew that life still held challenges, but he had already overcome many by then. After being promoted to manager, his work at the restaurant continued to impress. He made sure to implement changes that soon started to show results. "We need to improve customer service, streamline processes, and be more efficient," Samuel told his team during planning meetings. Every detail of the restaurant began to be monitored more carefully, from selecting suppliers to how the dishes were served. The restaurant owner, Mr. Gregory, observed everything with a discreet smile. He knew that Samuel was taking the business to another level. One day, while they were closing the register, Gregory approached Samuel with a serious expression, but the sparkle in his eyes suggested he had good news. "Samuel, I want to talk to you about something important," Gregory said, placing a hand on the young man's shoulder. Samuel stopped what he was doing, curious, and looked at him attentively. "You know the restaurant has grown a lot since you took over as manager, right?" Gregory continued. Samuel smiled humbly and nodded. "Yes, sir, I do my best." "The team is great too," he replied. Gregory then took a deep breath, as if he was about to reveal something big. "I have other businesses, Samuel, and one of them is a luxury clothing store. The store needs someone with your management skills. I'd like you to take over the management there." The invitation took Samuel by surprise. His eyes widened for a moment, and he was speechless for a few seconds. I don't know what to say. This is an amazing opportunity," Samuel exclaimed, his voice filled with emotion. He knew this was a huge step for his career. Gregory smiled at the young man's reaction. "I trust you. If you manage to transform the restaurant, I'm sure you can do the same for the store. The salary is better, of course, and it will be a new experience for you." Samuel felt his heart race. He saw this as a chance to finally reach new horizons. The restaurant had already been a great learning experience, but this offer represented a life-changing opportunity. "I accept. No doubt, I accept the challenge," Samuel said enthusiastically, shaking Gregory's hand firmly. The restaurant owner nodded, satisfied with the response. "Great, we'll talk more details soon. Get ready for a new journey." Samuel could hardly contain his excitement. He knew it would be a big leap in his professional journey. Filled with pride and a light heart, Samuel ran home that night. As soon as he walked through the door, he spotted his parents sitting at the table, as always, resting after another long day. "Mom, Dad. I have some amazing news," he exclaimed with a wide smile. His parents exchanged curious glances, while his mom asked, "What happened, son? You seem so happy." Samuel then shared everything, from the conversation with Gregory to the invitation to manage the luxury clothing store. His parents listened attentively, and by the end of the story, the pride on their faces was evident. "We are so proud of you, my son," his mother said, getting up to hug him. "We knew you would go far, but every day you surprise us even more," his father added, his voice filled with emotion. Samuel smiled, feeling the warmth of the family embrace and the joy of another achievement. On the morning that would change everything for Samuel, he woke up early, excited about this new phase in his life. Sunlight streamed through the cracks in the window, bathing the small room in a warm glow. Samuel felt a mix of nerves and enthusiasm. "Today is the day," he murmured to himself as he looked in the mirror. He chose a simple yet presentable outfit, because even though he had been promoted, he was never one to show off or flaunt. His confidence came from hard work and effort, not from clothes or appearances. After getting ready, he had a quick breakfast with his parents, who, as always, wished him luck. "I'm sure everything will go well, son," his mother said, smiling proudly. Samuel returned the smile and, after a tight hug, left the house, walking with determination through the streets that still reminded him of his childhood. The reality around his home had already begun to change thanks to his hard work, but that day he felt he was about to take another important step in his professional life. When he arrived in front of the luxury clothing store, Samuel felt his heart race a little faster. The facade was impressive, with large display windows showcasing clothes he could have never dreamed of buying years ago. He took a deep breath and stepped forward. But before he could enter, he was intercepted by two security guards, both with serious expressions and assessing looks. One of them, taller and more robust, blocked the entrance with his arm, while the other, with a hardened face, looked Samuel up and down as if inspecting something dirty. "Hey, where do you think you're going?" the taller guard said, his voice cold and dripping with disdain. Samuel, taken aback, smiled slightly and tried to be polite. "Good morning, I'm the new manager of the store. I'm here to get acquainted with the place before officially taking the position." The guard looked at him with a sneer, letting out a mocking laugh. "Manager? You? You must be kidding. You must have the wrong place, kid. Go get high somewhere else, you filthy black kid, he replied, not even trying to hide the hate in his words. The last phrase echoed in Samuel's mind, making his heart race, not with excitement, but with indignation. He tried to stay calm, reminding himself that he needed to be firm but polite. No, there's no mistake. I was hired to be the manager of this store. I can speak to the owner if you prefer, Samuel insisted, maintaining his firm stance. The other guard, who had been silent until now, let out a laugh and stepped closer. Look at this, the little black kid thinks he's gonna be in charge. You don't look like a manager, not even like a customer. In fact, you shouldn't even be here. He pointed at Samuel as if denouncing an invasion, adding with contempt, what would a filthy black guy like you be doing here? Selling drugs? I bet you're high, you must be. Samuel felt the blood boil in his veins, but he knew that losing his cool wouldn't help him. He took a deep breath and tried once more. I'm not on drugs, and I have nothing to do with drugs. I'm here to work. I'm Samuel, the new manager. The larger security guard, now laughing louder, looked at his colleague and shook his head. See that? He thinks we're idiots. A miserable black kid like him managing anything? Screw off, kid. Get out of here before I lose my patience. The laughter of both was filled with contempt, and Samuel felt the weight of each word sinking in his chest. It was as if they were stripping him of his dignity just because of how he looked. Trying to control his anger, Samuel explained once again that he had been hired for the manager position. If you just check with the owner, everything will be clear. I'm here because I was called, I'm qualified for the job, he said, his voice now a bit firmer, but still trying to keep his calm. But the taunts continued, growing more aggressive. Qualified? You aren't even qualified to clean the floors of this store, let alone be a manager. What a joke, yelled the thinner guard, jabbing his finger into Samuel's chest. Get lost, you filthy black kid. You think anyone is gonna believe you were hired? It's clear you're making this up. Samuel, still in shock, tried to take another step forward, but was immediately shoved hard by the bigger security guard. Get out of here, you trash, he shouted as he pushed Samuel away from the entrance. You think you're getting in here? Not with that face, not with that color. Leave before we make you go another way. The insults were so many that Samuel felt the anger mixed with humiliation. You're making a mistake, he said, now tired of trying to argue. I'm the new manager, and I won't allow you to treat me like this. This is racism, and you're going to pay for it. The thinner guard then leaned his face closer to Samuel's, a wicked smile on his lips. Racism? Are you crying now? Go tell your little friends. Maybe someone will care. But here, nobody wants a stinking black guy like you in charge of anything. Get lost, you piece of crap. Samuel felt his body shaking with indignation. Every word, every insult felt like a direct blow to his self-esteem. He tried once more to explain his position, but the guards just shoved him out roughly, laughing and exchanging jokes with each other. He thinks he can be a manager. He must really be high, mocked the taller guard while looking at his colleague with a superior grin. Humiliated and unable to believe what had just happened, Samuel slowly walked away. The world seemed to spin in his head, and he felt a lump in his throat that he could barely hold back. The pain of being treated that way, after having achieved so much, was almost unbearable. He left feeling deeply disrespected, as if all his effort and sacrifice meant nothing. After being humiliated by the guards at the store entrance, Samuel walked away feeling a mix of anger and powerlessness, but he knew he needed to act strategically. He walked through the streets in silence, the weight of what had happened still heavy on his chest. This isn't going to end like this, he murmured to himself as he took out his phone and dialed the number of the restaurant owner, Gregory. Gregory answered on the second ring, with his usual calm and gentle tone. Samuel, how's it going? Did you visit the store yet? I bet you're going to do a great job there too. Samuel took a deep breath, trying to maintain his composure, but his voice carried a noticeable tension. Gregory, I need to talk to you right now. Something very serious happened. Gregory's tone changed immediately. Serious? What happened, Samuel? Meet me at the restaurant, I'm on my way. Samuel headed straight to the restaurant, where he found Gregory already waiting, visibly concerned. They sat in a more private corner, and Samuel began to recount, in detail, everything that had happened in front of the clothing store. He spoke about how the security guards had insulted him, treated him with contempt, and forcibly expelled him without even hearing what he had to say. Gregory looked visibly shocked, and the calm expression he always wore was replaced by a look of fury. They called you what? Gregory asked, almost in disbelief. Filthy black kid. This is unacceptable. I can't believe my employees would treat someone like that, especially the new manager. He stood up abruptly from his chair, ready to head to the store and resolve everything right then. No, Gregory, Samuel said, raising his hand to stop him. I understand your anger, but I have a plan. They humiliated me in front of the store and threw me out like trash. I don't want this to be resolved behind the scenes. I want all the employees to know what happened and see the consequences of their actions. I want to tell the truth during my official presentation, in front of everyone. I want them to feel the shame I felt. Gregory listened attentively, and although he was still furious, he nodded. I understand. You're right, Samuel. This needs to be done the way you want. I'll make sure everyone is there. Those security guards will pay for what they did. The plan was then set, and in the days that followed, Samuel prepared for the big moment. He knew that, besides introducing himself as the new manager, he needed to address the issue of discrimination head-on, without letting those men get away with it. On the day of the presentation, the store's hall was filled with employees. Everyone was curious to meet the new manager who had been handpicked by the owner of the restaurant and the store. Gregory took to the makeshift stage, microphone in hand, and began to speak. Good morning, everyone. As you know, we are here to welcome the new manager of the store. I'm sure he will bring the same dedication and success that he brought to our restaurant. Please give a warm welcome to Samuel. As Samuel stepped onto the stage, the security guards, who were at the back, exchanged looks of panic. They immediately realized who he was. One of them tried to hide behind the other employees, while the other stared at the ground, as if trying to avoid any eye contact. Samuel saw all of this and felt the weight of justice about to be served. He grabbed the microphone firmly and began to speak, but his voice was heavy with indignation. I should be here today just to introduce myself as the new manager of this store. But unfortunately, I need to talk about something much more serious. Last week, when I came to visit the store, I was stopped at the door by two security guards who are here in this room. These two men not only refused to let me in, but they also insulted me in the lowest and most despicable way possible. They called me a filthy black kid, laughed at the idea that I could be the manager, and finally pushed me out of the place as if I were a criminal. The tension in the room was palpable. The other employees stared in shock at the guards, who now looked visibly uncomfortable. Samuel didn't stop. These men committed a disgusting and unacceptable act of racism. They judged me by my color and thought I had no worth. But today, I'm here to tell them and all of you that this will not be tolerated. Not here, not anywhere. The larger guard, trying to justify himself, began to stammer, I didn't know who you were, But Samuel interrupted him firmly. It doesn't matter who I am. It doesn't matter if I'm the manager or a customer. No one, absolutely no one, has the right to treat another person the way you treated me. You two have no place in this store or anywhere that respects human dignity. He then turned to Gregory, who was standing next to him. With the owner's consent, I'm firing you both right here and now. You're dismissed. The guards were in shock, not knowing how to react. The room fell silent as everyone present processed the gravity of what had just happened. "But this doesn't end here," Samuel continued. "I will file a lawsuit against both of you for racism and assault, and I will take this case to court. You will not go unpunished." The days that followed were marked by a lengthy legal process. In court, Samuel presented all the evidence of what had happened, with the support of witnesses and even footage from the store's security cameras, which had captured part of the incident. The guards, now embarrassed, tried to defend themselves, but the evidence was overwhelming. During the trial, the judge was firm in his sentencing. The two security guards were ordered to pay a significant amount in damages to Samuel for the emotional and physical harm he had suffered. Additionally, the judge offered a choice: a few months in jail or a few years of community service as punishment for their discriminatory acts. With no other option, they chose community service. Finally, the judge also ordered both of them to make a public apology to Samuel, which took place days later at an event where the two, visibly embarrassed, apologized in front of all the employees and the local press. Samuel, holding his head high, accepted the apology, but he knew this was only a small part of the reparation he had earned. He had triumphed, not just as a manager, but as a man who fought for his dignity and justice. And so, he continued his work at the store, turning it into a model of success, while the incident marked a turning point in his personal and professional life. His courage in confronting racism and violence would become an example for everyone, both inside and outside the store. Samuel had won another battle, and now, with the confidence of someone who knows the value of his effort, he looked to the future with the certainty that nothing would stop him from continuing to grow. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, give it a like, and activate the notification bell so you don't miss any of our upcoming videos. See you in the next story.